Next up, let's talk Craft Lake City. Let's talk Slug Magazine. I'm here with Karamea, Mia. I can't believe I did it. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to take two. All right. God, fortunately, this program isn't live. Karamea, Puriri from Slug Magazine and Craft Lake City. Welcome. My apologies.
Thank you.
I'm usually not so terribly bad, but
it's okay.
I'll make it up to you somehow.
Thanks.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm very good. Very
through
good.
the big event.
Through the weekend. Yeah.
How
it was a big
your
weekend
Craft Lake
for
City?
everyone. It was phenomenal, actually, to say the least. I think it's safe to say it was our biggest year yet. We haven't gotten back numbers yet, but judging by the amount of people there throughout the day, it was packed all day. So we are very happy about that.
Good for you. Congratulations. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the association and the affiliation between Slug, which certainly has its high points of just catering to certainly at least a part of the music culture that is punk rock and a little rougher around the edges, and yet Craft Lake City to me is such a cool, in its own way, sophisticated, crafty event. Talk about the background of the two organizations getting together.
Well, Craft Lake was actually started by Slug Magazine's editor, Angela Brown, in 2009 as a way to showcase what is actually going on around the city that we might not know about, which is the DIY movement, your own business, whether it's out of your garage or in your basement or a shared studio space. There have been all of these artists and people that make and create things, and Angela, was seeing all these festivals all over the country and thought, well, I think I could do this in Salt Lake, and so she started Craft Lake. And 4 years later, it has turned into one of the biggest festivals in the state. We had over 200 vendors this year, and a plethora of bands. I can't remember the exact amount, but we spread them out across 2 stages, and we actually introduced a new category this year featuring DIY engineers, which featured robotics, LED lighting displays, hacked video games. I don't know if I should say that on the air, but it actually broadened the horizon of what do-it-yourself is for people, which was awesome. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a kind of a cool thing, and simply my consciousness about craftiness, for lack of a better way to put it, I think is a really positive influence of LDS culture on this place in a way that maybe it doesn't exist in other places, because there's actually a category, a genre of scrapbooking, which is just something that comes to mind. But a lot of people are really serious about that, and that's a big part of their heritage. What's your sense of what other cities are like, kind of by comparison, and in terms of there being a thing like Craft Lake City? I mean, I don't know, does that exist out there in the world?
It's everywhere. There are craft fairs, in San Francisco, New York, all over the place, and it's come with this big movement of, Utah's not the only all about, buying local and staying local. We're not the only community and the only state that does that. There are, I think, states and communities and cities are realizing that the movement from corporate and being controlled kind of into, well, I made this, or I grew this, or I did this, it's a nationwide movement, and it's growing and growing every month. Every so often we'll find new craft fairs, and Angela was actually just in Hong Kong and sent me some different craft fairs she found there. And so it's a movement that's just kind of taking over, because I think people, with the loss of jobs or, not finding what's making them happy, they realize that creating is making them happy. And with being from Utah and having that background of, sewing or crocheting or stitching, a blanket or things like that, Craft Lake has kind of pinpointed this alternative style of crafting. And so we have, we do have crocheting and stitching, but the crocheted things you find at Craft Lake might be a crocheted monster or a, like we have gremlin little figures and different prints and, you know, all different things. And so it's not just, it's kind of breaking out from what your grandma would define crafting as. We try and not let that kind of hold us down, because Utah has, you know, if you're a typical Utahn from here, you would think, oh, crafting, that's what my grandma does. We have guys, old men, old like women, down to, I think our youngest vendor was 10 years old.
No kidding.
Yeah, and she made little clay pieces and little magnets, gummy bear magnets, and just sold them for $2. And so I spent quite a few dollars with her, and she packages them up and puts a little candy in them and ties a bow and gives you the bag. And it's just, you know, it's something that's not just for, you know, your mom and Relief Society. It's for every generation, and it's growing, it's moving, it's awesome.
Well, and I think that one of the things that I've come to realize through things that I've been exposed to in popular culture is, you know, the idea of creativity, of cool, of hip, of a wonderful aesthetic really can be applied to almost any medium. So, you know, rock and roll was a reaction to staid, or as kids perceived, you know, staid kind of music, and still to this day, 50 years later, rock and roll is the cool thing. Yeah. And why not craft? Why not using certain kinds of materials or implements to make stuff that's cool and hip and beautiful and exciting? Why not?
And that's the great thing about it, and it's a big part of why we also feature local music within Craft Lake City, is because the majority of the bands that you're seeing, you know, they're from Salt Lake, but they're also from Provo or Ogden, or from all over the state, and they do crafting of their own, whether it's making a suitcase that holds their merch, or printing their own t-shirts, or having a poster printed for them. True. So it's kind of, when you take a step back and you look at all the things happening at Craft Lake, you realize that crafting isn't just, it's not just crafting. We also featured a lot of the new food trucks that have been popping up around Salt Lake City.
That's my new thing for Park City. And I think the Main Street Association loves me for that.
Well, they're big, and they're, you know, but it's just so amazing at how different they are, and the array of food that comes out of a little truck.
Absolutely.
And even a cart, or, you know, you drive downtown Salt Lake City on a Thursday and see all these different food trucks and all these different food carts, and you want to go buy something from each one. So your lunch is all these different arrays of food.
It's like tapas trucks.
Yeah, so we had different waves of food trucks come through for about 4 hours each, so that the city could kind of get a feel for like this new movement of food. It's not just, you know, we have our local restaurants, which we love and adore, but the food truck is the new DIY food store.
It's craft as applied to food.
There's still definitely, you know, a sense of craftiness behind it, because you have to think about how to paint the truck and how to actually make the food within the food truck, and, you know, and so there's all these elements that go into it. And first we just, you know, decided, well, we have food booths every year, which we had 1 or 2, but we mainly just featured the new food trucks, the food carts, this new movement of, you know, maybe we'll inspire somebody who makes corn in their backyard.
Absolutely.
Just wants to sell their things on the road. You're more than welcome to. And so it just kind of, you know, spawns these new ideas. So it was definitely a big day full of things to see, and I think my favorite part was definitely the DIY engineers. So
the new stuff.
The new stuff. Yeah, well, there's
a
whole new movement of robots being made in garages that still qualifies as handmade, which people don't realize, but you know, once you get in there and see
the tinkerers are so much fun to see what they come up with. It is a whole nother category of, wow, I never thought.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. We had 3D printers and an exhibitor that makes hula hoops that light up, that's controlled by a ring you wear on your finger,
Nice.
and little moving, almost Wall-E-like robots that would
Wall-E.
chase the kids around.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Super
so
fun.
we had a lot of fun stuff.
Well, thank you so much for coming on at the last
Thank you.
minute. It was
Thank you.
it worked out great.
It did.
Social media, I'm sure, has increased our
Social
audience.
media is a dream for people.
Very
so
cool. Well,
thank
Karamea, it's
you.
great to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on
Thank you.
a great festival. Please come back because we have to talk music.
Yes.
We've got so much to talk about on the
Plenty.
Slug Magazine side, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.